So welcome all to session 3 of Career Reinvention Program. Session 3 is about OpenClaw, the open source framework for building and deploying AI agents. Our trainer today is Malti. Malti is a much sought after trainer in the field of product management and AI. She has held multiple sessions at corporates. She also holds classes at Indian Institute of Management, Udaipur. She's a TEDx speaker and in the past has held leadership roles at Intuit, SAP, and PayPal. Thank you, Malti, for accepting our invitation to conduct today's session.
Sure. Thank you, Julie, for having me here.
Yeah. So before I hand over to you, just a quick note for the audience. As you know, Career Reinvention Program is a 5-session program, out of which we have completed 2, and we are on the 3rd today. In case you missed any of the previous 2 sessions or you want to rewatch it, please visit the Second Career's YouTube channel, which is where all the recordings are uploaded as and when available. That is one. Secondly, also a reminder for the next session in the later part of this week, May 28th, which is next Thursday, which will be about purpose and impact. So if you're looking to commit to a social cause, this will be a great session for you to attend to understand the good work that NGO partners are doing. What is the specific skill gap that they are looking to address when implementing solutions on the ground, and how you can be a part of it as a volunteer. It doesn't matter if you're working full-time, if you're working part-time, or if you've entered retirement. It doesn't matter. The roles are flexible and it allows you to contribute at any phase of your career stage. So look forward to the next session on Thursday as well. So with that, over to you, Malti. Take it away. I know OpenClaw is a pretty heavy topic, difficult to cover in 1.5 hours in one session, but over to you. Let's get off.
Thank you so much, Julie. So I think before we get started, I would love to know our audience today. We are about close to 27 people. Julie, can you unshare? Yeah. So first of all, I would love for more folks like Kiran to give company to me and Julie on video, if possible. Yeah, that would be really lovely to have you guys on video so that we feel that we are not talking to the screen, but really talking to people. So I'll give a couple of minutes for whoever can make it. I know we all are typically doing multitasking, trying to probably do our kitchen work or something else along with these trainings, but it would be lovely to have folks on video. Thank you, Sushma. Thank you, Shanti. All right. And while people are kind of kindly coming on video, really appreciate that. I would love to know that how many of you, what are the different tools today that you're using when we talk about AI, right? I mean, AI has become so much I would say embedded into our daily life. I think even sometimes instead of I using a calculator or an Excel sheet, I actually end up putting a prompt into AI. It has gone that deep into my day, right? So what I would want to do is that just take first couple of minutes to understand what are some of the tools that all of you are using on a daily basis. So just put it in the chat, please. So that's my first question for the day. What are some of the tools that you're using? Claude Code, Cover, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude.ai. Claude definitely is a winner. I think pretty much everybody has put in Claude. Perplexity, ChatGPT, Gemini, Granola. Alrighty. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Notebook LM, Granola, Claude. Okay, that sounds good. Now, the next thing I would love to hear is how many of you understand what's an agent? Probably just a yes or a no. And it's absolutely fine. I mean, many of us probably don't know. So whatever it is, yes. Basic idea, yes. Okay. All right. I'm going to say, okay. It's a fairly advanced audience, which is good. The third question is that have any of you made agents on your own? If yes, would love to understand which tool you have used. Tried and failed. No worries. Absolutely. Which tool have you used? NA10, okay. Over, okay. Not tried yet, not yet. All right, okay. Using OpenClaw, okay. All right, so agent as in co-pilot, absolutely. So today what I'm going to do is that I'm going to talk a little bit also about when we talk about agents, probably I'm going to just put if it is okay, Juby, to just make people also be part of the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
All right. So Renu, as you said, NA10, I'm just going to put you on the spot. If you can unmute yourself and say that how did you use what was the use case for which you used NA10? Would love to understand. Are you able to unmute yourself and share your journey or your this thing? Okay. Probably Sabrina, I'm going to go over to you. You said you've used Claude Cover. What was your use case? How have you been using it?
So I have used it to give me a weekly briefing on my email, in particular, the AI newsletters that I receive in my inbox to give me a written summary of what is new, what are the hot topics, and any interesting prompts that are written. So I subscribe to a number of AI newsletters. I use it to do a monthly competitive roundup as well. So I have defined competitors and basically asked it once a month to give me that, and then to use that to help generate social media writing content ideas.
Right.
Those are two that I can think of. We've also used N8N, but we use it more as a connector, I feel like. So we connect our chat GPT to our learning management system by using N8N, but I don't think of that as an agent per se. I think of it as more of just connecting, but I'm not a tech
More like
person.
a workflow connector, more like a workflow connector.
Yeah, more like a workflow connector is how I think of N8N, but
Okay.
I'm sure it's capable of doing other things.
All right. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, right? And I think as many of you have been using especially Claude, right? Or I don't know if some of you have used tools like Lovable or a Gamma. What you would also see is that once you kind of give them any kind of an input, right? They would say that, okay, they are triggering off a sub agent kind of a thing. And each agent is basically something like what Sabrina said, is kind of given a task. And this particular agent, think about it literally like your co-pilot or an assistant, where it has a set of inputs that it is taking. And in the background, it is basically calling a brain. And then this brain is what we call as an LLM, right? So it basically collects the context, collects the input, it kind of gives it to the brain, says that, okay, what is the answer that it's getting, and it kind of gives an output. Now, when we talk about agents in general, there is a lot of different, I would say, depending upon the complexity, it may have context, it may have memory, it can take decisions on its own, it can do orchestration. So, from simple tasks to something like what Sabrina said, where you say that, every day morning, 9 o'clock, go and look at these 5 different websites and get me the top 3 news. It could be as simple as that, where it is basically going and putting that input to the prompt, and probably whatever is the background, it is calling a Claude Sonnet or a Chat GPT, LLM. It is calling it up and showing it. Now, interestingly, some of the existing agent frameworks which are available in the market today are tools like Crew, N8N, and of course, more sophisticated tools like Emergent or a Claude, actually in the background also called their sub agents, right? So there are different varieties where agents today are kind of available, and Some of them are slightly more complex. For example, if you will go to a tool like, let's say, LangGraph, or you go to a Crew, they will be slightly more complex. A lot of people I have seen are finding N8N, for example. Claude makes it very simple because it kind of follows your natural language processing model. So that makes it far more easier. Now, in the midst of these, some really fantastic AI native companies, where did OpenClaw come in? So that's my next question before I jump into my slide and the content for today. Any of you, first of all, my first question is, has anybody already used OpenClaw? No? Anybody? No? Okay. All right. So let's step back a little bit. I think then I will rather jump into this thing since nobody has used it. Give me a minute. So what we'll do is that I basically have two parts to the conversation today. The first one is where I actually talk about what is OpenClaw. I'll try to keep it as minimum, not going very technical into it, but probably make you guys familiar to the common terminologies. You might have heard things like soul, skills, memory, markdown files, right? I mean, especially many of you are using Claude Code, so you might be already familiar with some of these terms or may not be familiar. And the second part is where I have the demo, where I have picked up two use cases, and using a WhatsApp interface, I'm going to kind of show you how to build your skills or how to build your agents. My request would be that whatever questions you have, please put it in the chat. And after every few minutes, I'm probably going to take kind of a small logical break, and I'll try to answer your questions. Yeah? Okay. And if it's getting too technical, please also do let me know. I'm hoping you all can see my slides.
Yeah, it's up.
Okay. All right. So before we jump in, Juby has already done a very kind introduction, but a little bit more about myself. Close to 20, now it's actually 26 years. Pretty much all of that building products or solutions in the IT industry. And as the entire world moved to AI, generative AI, especially after ChatGPT or OpenAI came in, I too started to learn myself, upskill myself in AI. And today I work as a product strategist with startups. I do a lot of trainings with enterprise organizations. And I also work with a bunch of startup accelerators like NASCOM and a bunch of them others. So that's a little bit me. And if you are somebody who likes to talk about, listen to things around product, I also have a podcast which is called as Product Talk with Mom. And you can find me on LinkedIn with the same name. Okay. So, interestingly, a lot of tools which many of you listed that you have been using as part of AI, ChatGPT, Claude. One very specific thing you would have seen is that if you have to use any of these products, you have to either download it into your phone or your laptop, or you have to use it through a browser interface. Correct? So that means there has to be an app, there has to be a UI where you have to go and you can start using that product. Right? Now, interestingly, before I come back to this thing, I probably want to go here. We all know that in the last 3 years, we literally see a new innovation, whether it is a model, whether it is a product, whether it is a framework, something new coming pretty much every week, right? And OpenClaw was one such open source framework which actually came up in January of this year, right? It was created by Peter Steinberger, who actually created it, initially called as Claude, and then actually Anthropic put this thing on him. Then it was called as Moltbot, and then he finally landed up with the name of OpenClaw. That is what the origin. It was basically a weekend project that he actually started with. And of course, today GitHub is like the portfolio, especially for engineers, where they can push out their deliverables, their projects, and it got like 2 lakh GitHub stars in just 84 days. One of the fastest growing things, and literally you can see it got 25,000 stars on January 6th after it was put out, right? That's how the community looked like. Now, coming back to the point that I was making, typically, if you have to use any of the AI tools, you will typically open a browser, you will put in a prompt, it will generate a text and you will get it. The way OpenClaw works, it is kind of literally, I would say, shifting the way that agents are working. What it says is that I don't need a separate application to be downloaded on your machine or on your phone, but rather the current interface that you're using, whether you're using a WhatsApp, a Discord, a iMessage, a Slack, I can very easily integrate into that. So what happens with that is that your adoption becomes far, far, far more easier. Yeah. So that is the primary, what we call as channel that OpenClaw is using. And what OpenClaw does is that, so this is very important, right? What is the primary difference between OpenClaw agent framework versus any other agent framework is that, for example, unless you have your memory set up, your this thing is going to forget what was more about Malti, what was that question that you asked. So you have to set up that memory over there. But in a typical agent, when the control is moving from one agent to the other, it is usually stateless. It is usually reactive. It is browsed around. Versus, and I'll come to that, how OpenClaw does it, is that it is very stateful. That means if Kiran got some, let's say, content created 2 days back, there is a complete possibility that it will retain that long-term memory that even after 2 months, when she's trying to build a new post, it can also refer to that, right? So one of the key aspect or the very strong positioning of OpenClaw framework is that it is very stateful, right? It is very proactive and it is very channel native, right? So those are some of the great things where it is kind of building tools on LLMs. It is kind of using LLM as kind of operating. And this is where the definition of how an agent works comes in here, where it is basically using the LLM along with it to define that, okay, what is the next agent that I have to call? What is the decision that has to be made, right? So LLM here becomes literally like the operating system. So let's look at what are some of the things that it has. So this might be a little overwhelming. Maybe I should have gone some animation, but let's look at it, how it works today, right? If you have to just kind of understand. You basically, as I said, you can use any of the interfaces. You send messages like you would to a person through the apps which you're already using. That's number one. Number two, it can run on your machine. It can run on the cloud. It can run on the Mac Mini server. So, of course, if your machine you close, it doesn't work. So that means if you put it on a cloud, if you put it on a Mac Mini server, it is operational 24/7. And the most important thing, your data stays with you, right? It could be a local, these things, it could be on your Mac Mini, so it stays with you. Of course, if you're putting it on the cloud and assuming it's your own instance, there also it is more secure. As I said, it uses effectively LLM as the brain to say that, okay, which tool it has to call. Imagine if you are doing something like an agent which tells you weather forecast every single day morning. Then you are using that tool calling through the LLM to say that, okay, which particular, what is the prompt that is sending and which tool is it calling, right? So that is what it is doing. The thinking happens in the cloud, the model becomes the brain, right? You are calling an API, you are calling a function, you are calling a tool, that's what it does. So then what it is doing is that it is kind of executing the actions, it brings in the data. The interesting part, which I will also show to you, is that you can access your OpenClaw, memory files or all the data points. Either you can do it through a actual client interface downloaded on your PC, you can do it through your browser, or you can also do it, it has its own CMD framework that also you can use. As I said, it has a persistent memory, gets sharper because it has all the context, it has all the memory. It can do multiple agents for different purposes. So we will talk about some of these examples. And it's given that you can do more and more plugins and stuff like that. In fact, it comes with its own, something like a marketplace called as Claw Hub, which already has these a lot of plugins already stored over there. Okay. So I'll take a pause. I know it's probably a little slightly rooted. One question is, how controlled is the proactivity? Unfounded, can I define its power? I know, for example, there are, for example, a lot of solopreneurs like me who use it for a variety of use cases. Now, initially, even in fact, when you are installing the app, it actually tells you that you probably want to start with not accessing your so much of private data. So you start using it and you start seeing the benefits out of it. Between January to now, I think, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Malti.
Okay. So somebody, I don't know for some reason it says turn up your volume. So
No, the reason is because I think you got a call or something because there was a ring. Or maybe it was your phone or somebody else's.
Okay. No, I think it's me. I think I got a WhatsApp call. Yeah. Another challenge of integrating all the devices and all the apps.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all I'm saying is that you should kind of play it cautiously, Sushma, because while, for example, the month one, people who implemented OpenClaw, they did have a lot of challenges related to security. There were a lot of attempts which were being made to access the systems and stuff like that. But what I hear now is that in the last 6 months, 5 months, whatever it is, they have been focusing more on the security, right? So they seem to be getting better. The interesting part is that I think, I don't know if you guys have seen, but Jensen Huang, who's the NVIDIA CEO, he actually identified that, the framework which OpenClaw has come in is actually the way to go. And NVIDIA themselves launched something called as NanoClaw. And we say probably OpenClaw is for everybody, but NanoClaw is exclusively for enterprises. Right? So it has found a huge uptick in terms of the adoption. All right. So with this, all right. So what happens is, as I said, it's open sources. You can do self-hosting. You can host it in your machine.
Malti, sorry about this. I have a follow-on question.
Okay.
Is it within our control to set the parameters for OpenClaw, saying, can I use it the same way I use Claude? Or is OpenClaw something that automatically accesses everything on my machine?
No. You can completely control. It comes with a huge number of settings, which
Okay.
lets you what it can access. I'll walk you through some of them.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and that is the reason, in fact, in the very first month when I was kind of exploring, I was super, even for Claude Cowork, for example, I created a separate folder. I was not giving it access to any of the folders in my system just to make sure to get my own comfort level. And it is the same approach I used even with OpenClaw. For example, whether before I give it access to my WhatsApp and stuff like that, I was extremely cautious. So I would say take a cautious approach. But once you kind of
Absolutely.
get comfortable, but at the same time, I would still not very highly recommend if there are highly confidential information, IP information, PII information. I would ask you to act with a lot of caution.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So as I said, it's an open source self-hosted gateway. We will talk a little bit more about that. That turns the messaging apps you already use into the front end of an AI agent. So you don't have to really install something else, right? Interestingly, it is local first, multi-channel, skill native. We will talk a little bit more around skill native. And I think you will just love the part how quickly you can do it, right? I will probably try to see if by end of the meeting, there is one brilliant video, which actually, because in this class today, I will not be able to do any hands-on session. It is more like a introduction to OpenClaw. But there is one which I myself looked at when I started to work on OpenClaw. And it's probably like a 2-hour YouTube video, but very, very brilliant, especially for beginners to get started doing their hands-on, setting up the OpenClaw in your own machine and getting started building your first agent. So I'll try to share that. Anyway, just look at the number of channels that it kind of supports, right? Each of them is like a plugin. You can decide which channel you want to use, right? Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the architecture of OpenClaw. Again, as I said, I'm going to kind of keep it as simplistic as I can. Channels is everything that you saw here, which all channels through which it is very, very deeply embedded into the applications that you use today. Next is basically the gateway. So think about it more like an orchestrator. For example, if as part of your use case, I'm just giving an example, you say that you as part of your first thing you want to do is that you want to go to, let's say, 4 or 5 different websites, you want to scrape the data, you pick it up. Then you say, look at the style that Malti writes the content. So you kind of takes everything. The second tool it is doing it is that it is contextually, it has Malti's previous post, it has looked at it. So the second step it is doing is that it is synthesizing that. The third thing you say is that I should review it. So send it as an email or send it on a WhatsApp, this thing to Malti. And once Malti says approve, go and publish it in, let's say, YouTube, publish it in Substack, publish it in LinkedIn, right? So think about this gateway more like a control plan, which basically tests you that what are the sessions. You can, for example, Sabrina was talking about that she wants to set up like a job which runs every day morning at 9 o'clock, right? Or you might be saying that, if there is an email that comes with a certain kind of a title, then I want it to go to a particular folder. So think about that the trigger point for each of these activities are very different. And that is where you kind of use your gateway, where your gateway decides which tool to call, which function, which API to call, what is the context and memory that it has to attach to it. So think about it like your junction, which is kind of managing all that. That's your gateway. The PI agent and the LLM code, now that's your brain, right? So you probably are giving your instructions through your gateway, but the actual work, what to call, when to call, how to monitor whether it has executed or not, is it getting an error, how is the output looking, all that is basically happening in your PI agent or your LLM code. And the last part is the memory and the storage, right? For example, you created the content. Where are you storing that content? Where is the context being stored? All that is, you can decide whether you want to have it as a markdown files, you want to access it from an Excel sheet, you want to bring up your Notion. So all those references are basically being stored there. Yeah, so that's like the architecture. Now, there's so much of layers. So how does that orchestration really happen? And that is where this slide is very important, where we have these multiple artifacts. And the next slide actually further builds on that. So everything which I spoke about, your memory and storage, is basically sitting here. It's your long-term durable, again, there could be multiple. It could be a vector database. It could be an Excel sheet. The idea is that there is context available. And once you go more details into that, you can see something like what Sushma was asking is that how much of access do I want to provide? What should be the persistence that I want to offer? So there is a lot of that part which you can do. Now let's look at some of the details, right? Now this is a cognitive funnel or the raw user input and context, right? For example, if the job is working today, then it says that, okay, for this particular date, go and look at this particular website and look for, let's say, the latest content in the AI world. Now, soul.md, if many of you are using ChatGPT, think about it something like your system prompt, right? Where you try to give a character to your system, where you say, hey, you know what? You are Jenny, and don't try to always please me. Don't show me, don't give me, let's say, for example, be kind to me. You can give some context around hallucination. So what are some of the operating rules? So think about it, kind of putting some kind of a guardrails that when it is kind of executing those prompts are kind of, executed within a certain perimeter. So that is what is your soul.md. So the minute you kind of install, the first thing that your system is going to ask you, or your OpenClaw is going to ask you, is that, tell me, who am I? What are the things? So whatever you are kind of care about, for example, let's say you are a life coach, right? You probably want to make sure that this information is not being shared anywhere. You want to make sure that the nature of the language that it is speaking is very positive, whatever it is. Then it comes to the user.md, which is probably here you are giving more context, access to the files. You are kind of saying these are the team members. So it kind of learns a little bit more about the various amount of work that it has done. And this is basically, think about it like your audit log, where you are kind of everyday conversations is being captured, right? So now there are some unique new things which are very, important, or I would say unique to the OpenClaw framework. The first one is what we call as the heartbeat mechanism. So typically what would happen, for example, Sabrina was talking about that she has used N8N. And I was taking an example of, let's say, if there is a email that comes to my inbox, and if it says urgent, then I probably want to send myself maybe a WhatsApp notification, or I want to probably put it in a particular folder. So that's a trigger point, right, on which you can invoke it. The way OpenClaw works is that it has a heartbeat mechanism where it basically, the system triggers every 30 minutes. It reviews the memory, for example, and that is how when you're saying schedule something for 9 o'clock, it makes sure that it is kind of making a note that it has to be doing that. For example, if you're kind of running your tools, or your system is hanging, or if you have to be constantly looking at, so this is something which kind of, and I think it is configurable, that how frequently should your heartbeat be running, right? So it basically reviews your memory, adds more context, queries external API. So think about it like, if any of you is from technical background, think about it like a batch that you are constantly scheduling, which you want to run every few minutes. By default, it runs every 30 minutes, but this is again, it is configurable. And the most important thing, the reason it runs every 30 minutes is that it is optimized, right? So for example, do you really need something real time, or is it something that it can wait? So I don't know how many of you are reading today, but there are news, right, that where your token economics today is, right? I mean, many of you probably have, especially those who are using Claude, they have the Claude Pro, but you realize that you run two tasks with your cowork, and your tokens are gone, right? This thing for the day is kind of taken away. So that is one of the important things where it kind of notifies, where it tries to optimize, right? And of course, it pings the PM unprompted, or Telegram if any action is required. So these are the different things that you can do as part of your heartbeat. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of share a couple of things, and I believe there are questions as well. Channels like MCP servers, not really. Channels are literally your interfaces, Vidya, right? They are literally your interfaces. Interact with the agents. Specific to each agent? No. Think about soul.md is for that instance of that OpenClaw. Can it be integrated with IoT devices? I think so. Yes. The device needs to enable an endpoint to implode. Yeah, I think Julie has been answering some questions very supportively. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, so basically what you're seeing is the installation of the screens, how it looks like. So basically let me go to the website and show you guys. How are we going? Good? Is it fast? Is it too technical? Are we good so far? All good? Thank you, Kiran. Okay. Give me a moment, I'll just bring up slides. So this is the OpenClaw website. And one thing which I would highly recommend all of you to do is go to this quick start. If you have a Mac machine, this is the first thing that you have to do. I have a Windows, so ideally this is what. The first thing that you need to do is that you need to have Node.js installed. I think it is 22.2.1 version that you need. So one thing which I highly recommend whoever wants to start using OpenClaw.ai is to go here. Okay, this is basically getting started. So please make sure that you are kind of going here, and you can see it is like super easy. You can see here when you come to the window PowerShell, this is what you do as part. Oh, sorry, this is like a map. Is that? Yeah, Windows PowerShell. You can go ahead and do the installation here. You can verify whether the gateway is already running. Yeah. So highly recommend to use their documentation. It is like super helpful, right? Okay, then you go to install. You can see all the supporters over here. So for me, it is always the like the go-to place to find information. Of course, I'll not be able to cover all of them, but here, for example, chat channels, what is possible? Somebody asked for a IoT. How do you integrate with that? All this information you can be finding over here. Similarly, this is what one of the things which I was talking about. Claw Hub basically comes with it's like a marketplace. It comes with already pre-filled lot of capabilities that it can do. Let's say, for example, scraping a website or setting it up, publishings and stuff like that. So there are already a lot of these things. It support all kind of models, gateways. I'm just trying to see if there is anything else that I wanted to over here. Okay. So this was something that I wanted to show. Okay, then once you have, give me one second. Okay, now this is another important thing, whether you should store where, I mean, especially going back to what Sushma was asking, right? Because security is still a concern with where, especially I know a bunch of startups who are quite a few startups who use OpenClaw, these things. But the challenge here is that it is free, it is fast setup, security risk is high in case you get access to personal thing. And the minute you close your laptop, it doesn't work, right? So put it in a VPS. It definitely costs you some money, but it is isolated environment and highly recommended. Then there are Mac Mini. It is quite expensive, but you have full hardware control, right? So depending upon what is your use case, you can decide where you want to use it. Now, how does this really work, right? So you have your incoming message through the channel and the sender. You create a session. You load the skills. Now, I'll talk about what are skills in a minute. You run your agent loop, and then you reply back on the same channel. So typically what happens, you have one channel, isolated memory, isolated permissions for that particular channel, how you want to run it, right? So for example, let's say if you have multiple agents running, there is a cron job running at 9 o'clock. There is let's say an agent which is waiting for some kind of trigger point. There are scraping agents running. So typically each one of them will have access to the data or the context that you have exposed to it. And there will be multiple markdown files based on which you do it, right? Then you have tools registry wherever you kind of, based on the session that you have set up, you basically, and the permission scope that you have given, you are calling multiple tools. A2 UI is basically the native UI that OpenClaw has, which is basically, think about it like a thick client on your machine. And then you have cron skills where skills can schedule itself, right? Okay, now before I go here, let me just bring back. So if you use, there are some questions. When tokens expire, will automatically retry after session expiry? Yeah, think about it like regular how your these things. It will try, but see, basically what you're doing is that you're giving it an API key, right? Based on that API key, if the responses is working, then it will work. Otherwise, it will show you that it is not working. So you have to keep an eye on this thing. Okay. All right. Now, let me. So this is
Malti, can we also address the second question or the last question? Please share some use cases of OpenClaw.
I'll come to that, Julie. I'll come to that. Since I'm in the middle of this, I'll come to that. Yeah. Okay. So when you are looking at when you are installing the OpenClaw, it basically takes you through a set of processes where it asks you what is the channel you want to have. It asks you the API keys. It asks you the various configurations that you're looking at, what it can access, what it cannot access. And at the same time, during one of the steps, it will also ask you whether you want to install the A2 UI. In my case, I have not yet installed. But there it will also give you the URL for you to open it in the browser API. Okay, so this is how when you're kind of using it through your browser interface, this is how it looks like. You will have your the sessions. For example, in my case, I still haven't created a agent here, so that is why you only see the main agent. Once you kind of create, you can see more sessions over here, right? How does the token usage looks like? So here you can see how many messages, were there any tool calls that I did, were there any errors, how the, based on the chats that I've done, and I will show you how the chat looks like, how many sessions I have done. So this is basically think about from your usage perspective. All right. Then this is your agents. Right now, I had some issues, so I had to redo my installation. So that is why you don't see over agents here, but I will show you some recordings where we kind of in the past created these agents and how we used them. Yeah. Now, this is again a place where you actually see the cron jobs where you can basically schedule, something like what I was saying, name of the agent. You can schedule it, what time you want it to run, and it can run over here, right? Okay. Oh, that's the chat. Give me 1 minute. I'm just trying to. Okay, so let's talk about the skills, right? So, for example, if you look at the skill store, this is what I was talking about, Claw Hub. So, think about your skills more like a set of instructions. For example, if you have to go and if I go back to the example that Sabrina said, what it says is that go ahead and look for these websites. If there is any API call that you are making, then you say that call up this particular tool or this particular application. What is the format of the output? So think about it more like a set of instructions that you give, and like how typically in any program you can reuse your instructions, you can reuse your skills, right? So that is basically what it is. All right. Okay, again, you can see here what are the channels that you can have. It kind of tells you. Nodes I have not really used. So basically, these are the way that how you can interact with your these things. Okay, so now let me go into the chat. So I think somebody earlier had an example when I was trying to map my API key. I did not have enough this thing. So it actually said that there are not enough this thing. So this is basically an interface through which you can set up your soul.md. You can set up your, so for example, let's say I'm kind of just setting it up. So I'm saying you are Jenny, you are assisting me to set up my agents. So you can see how easy it is. So I've kind of given a name to it. So you will see that whatever it is saying that it is writing, it is basically writing them on its markdown files, right? So I'm here to help set up your agents to complete what kind of a creature am I? Okay, what's my vibe? See, these are the kind of things. So all this information basically goes into your soul.md. All right. And you can see that I'm basically using Gemini 2.5 Flash. That is what I'm using. You are an AI assistant. Your vibe is casual. No.
Just to clarify, Malti, for the audience as well. So this is the first time you're setting up your OpenClaw persona. So it understands who you are, how you want to appear. Now, how detailed does this need to be?
It doesn't need to be. I think, see, again, it's a very conversational thing. So unless somebody wants to create an emoji, they want some very specific, the way it interacts and stuff like that, they can provide as much information as they can. So now I can say that I want to create a skill. So there are some keywords also. So now you will see that it is kind of giving me, I just reviewed my soul file, which defines how I should operate. So before I get in, just see core truths, genuinely helpful. As I said, think about it more like your, even in your chat GPT, you will give your system prompts to kind of guardrail how the interactions should looks like. That is what it is, right? I say, skill, great, world, news, or read from all popular news sites. So it can scrape geopolitical news and websites. It's like in your prompts, how you would basically give references in the few short prompts and all that. It's just the same way. Yeah. Let's say BBC, New York Times. What else is Times of India? So just as how you would probably also see this in Claude, it is just asking more and more information as to how the skill has to look like. And you can also, so for now, let's say I'm just saying just the headlines and schedule this skill to give me an output every day morning at 9 a.m. So at this point of time, this is also setting up a cron job. So basically, you will see here, it gets updated in the cron job. It will be updating. We should be able to see something in the new skills, right?
And there are some questions on chat, Malti. Should take that.
Yeah.
One of the questions is, what is a cron job?
Yeah. Cron job is basically, think about like a daily job that you kind of usually set it up. So all the daily jobs that you see, that they can see on that. Coming to the questions, Amita, on enterprises, right? See, right now, if you look at it, AI adoption across various functions, right? For example, marketing teams, in an enterprise might be using this to collate data from a variety of these things. They might be even using this for their outreach. They might use this for their customer engagement, right? Similarly, sales teams can use this to basically identify potential leads by, again, this could be scraping, this could be invoking data from some certain website. So think about it basically like your assistant, which can do a variety of these things. So in an enterprise application, I will not think enterprise. I think even large enterprise organizations are probably not even using that OpenClaw in a lot of sensitive use cases. But OpenClaw is a great things where you have multiple agents which are being crossed across orchestrations, right? For example, think about it. I'm just giving a slightly more complex scenario in a think about it like in a banking scenario, right? For example, or in a customer support scenario where you have your customer, when they are coming to the website, you might be using your first agent, customer support agent, to basically handle it on their website, all the L1 kind of a thing. If that doesn't work and if there is a specific query, it might be invoking another agent, which might be looking for some data into some other thing. So one of the most common use cases I've seen is wherever you have customer interactions, wherever you have these repetitive jobs, wherever you have these multiple, let's say if there is some kind of a R&D which is going on. Again, I think it's a little unlikely that for any sensitive or confidential R&D this will be used, high quality R&D. But for example, if you need one agent to do certain activity, another agent to pick up that scraped websites, look for a specific kind of keyword, specific kind of data, the next one to probably review it, right? So the biggest strong point of the OpenClaw framework is its agent orchestration, that you are able to call multiple agents, multiple tools, and it is open sourced. So that's its primary thing. Can it create my persona based on my emails? Yes, absolutely. That is where the whole context, the memory, information, that especially think about if you want to build a digital twin like yours, especially which can be used for your interactions with your clients and all that, this could be a good use case. Will it not be training the LLM on your data? See, again, over here, whatever, while OpenClaw came, it is the same. You have your codex from OpenAI or you have Claude with code. So whatever precautions you will be taking for that, you will have to take the same precaution over here. It is not any different at all. So depending upon if you have an enterprise application where in that case, there is a say from them saying that they will not expose your data to the LLMs. With OpenClaw, I think it is because it is open sourced, there is a lot of responsibility or onus on the user to make sure those guardrails are put so that how your data is going to be used, what is that your. But typically, I would not highly recommend to use it. That is why, the various options which I was talking about, whether you're using it in a VPS, whether you're using it in a Mac Mini, you need to be careful about that. All right, so let me now go back to my. How are we doing on time? So with everything which I just said, now you try to read this slide. A skill is basically nothing but in context of a work that you want to get done, it is everything. What is the access? What are the tools to be called? What is the input? What is the trigger point? Are there any references that you want to show? For example, I said, look at from a website like this, right? If there is any formatting to be done, all that is nothing but a combination. And this is something you can schedule, you can call it again and again. So this is nothing but just a set of instructions. Now, okay, this is exactly what I said. You kind of, from the Claw Hub, if you use it, you can install, use, and publish it. I think I already spoke about this. Cron jobs are timers, basically scheduled tasks. Okay. All right. With this, let me go into the use cases. So, couple of use cases, especially for this particular audience of women who are kind of returning to work. Couple of use cases which I and Julie spoke about would be of interest is that upskilling, right? I mean, in today's era, each one of us has to constantly upskill. So, how can I make, let's say, for example, create some micro learnings, make it a little bit of fun? So, you kind of have a lot of content that you're constantly looking at, but we all procrastinate. So, how can we use OpenClaw here to be our accountability partner? Help us check, how we are doing in terms of our learning. So that's what we did, a little fun, this thing. So basically pain today is that you have a lot of this over a period of time. If you have not practiced, if you have not done any kind of checking, then you probably might forget it. So the idea here is that what I want to do is that based on the learning, the context that I have, and I give it probably connects to what is the content that I'm learning. Probably I have listed it in my Notion or somewhere where I'm saying that this is the content that I have been reading. And every day it asks me, let's say, 3 questions, right? There's a spaced repetition, it keeps my score. So it gives me, it's more like an accountability, right? So what we did was that we said every day, 8:30, you push 3 MCQs on our WhatsApp. You have to answer it in 90 seconds. So it's like also a timer for you that you have to do it in this thing. Your agent tells you what is your score based on how your score. So that is where you kind of get the context. One is that, of course, the topic on which it is making the MCQs for you. It is also remembering how much you are scoring. And since it is doing this every day, it is tracking how you are doing in terms of the knowledge on those MCQ. How is your scoring? Are your scores getting better or not? What are your weak topics? Requeue for D+3, every third day you're kind of checking it again. So Monday to Friday, I'm basically running it. I look at the heat map, and then on a Friday, I give you a streak that how you have done. So why is it a great this thing? Because you're using WhatsApp channel, which is probably a frequent this thing that you use. There is a spaced repetition, and you also have an accountability partner. Now in this code, these things, what are the things that you're using? You are an upskilling agent, my background LLM, whatever you want to use. The skills has a question bank bundle. It has a scheduler. It has an answer grader. It is looking at your heat map to say whether you have been regularly doing it or not. And your daily job is basically pushing. In terms of your storage and integration, you probably, this comes with SQLite as your local DB. You probably can integrate with your question bank, your Udemy course, if I don't know if it gives any API, but you can probably bring in the content or your slides into your Notion or Google PPT or whatever identity is happening through your phone. And you can definitely, this is again optional that you can do it through the chat as well. Okay, so this is how your skill is looking like. So this is how basically, your chat will look like, where it is going to give you, it is giving you the questions. Now, this is important. Think about it. It is kind of grounding the content based on what you have given. It is also kind of picking up the questions from there, but it also has the memory of what are the questions that Malti answered last time correctly or not, right? So it is kind of being grounded on that. So let me show you a demo of how it looks like. After this, I can take up questions. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen again. Everyone, if you folks can see it. Okay, so here, right now, earlier what I was showing you was the browser-based interface. But as I said, when you do the installation, you can also give WhatsApp as your this thing. So this is a video demo video which I have created where We are using basically WhatsApp as the interface. So just see the kind of chat that I was trying to do on the browser interface, how you can directly do it through WhatsApp. So you'll see that it is very, very conversational. I'm just giving that use case to it. So here I want to kind of pause and see. So it says it can schedule a job if you offer a daily briefing, like how we said that every day morning I want to do it. It will have real-time research where it will basically, based on the topics that you tell it, either you can give your own content or it can fetch it from the internet. It can do a curriculum tracking, which basically tells how you are scoring, what is your syllabus, and accordingly, it can also create any custom skill creation based on any specific source. For example, you are looking at a particular course, a particular newsletter. So based on that, it can do for you. The point that I'm trying to focus here is that how easy it is to create these agents using OpenClaw. So see first markdown file that it created. This all goes as part of the instructions into your skill.md. What it has to do. So here I'm trying to build a micro learning to learn about AI agents itself. So one of the examples which I was showing you earlier was that to do micro learnings here in this video, basically what we are saying is that, okay, give me one capsule of learning every day in the morning. And also keep updating what all I have learned so far. The other interesting thing is that while you are setting it up, you can also give your email ID and it can also update your calendars to make sure that you are aware that tomorrow morning you are going to get another capsule of learning. Yeah. Okay, so there are some questions now. Can the agents be set up for e-commerce life cycle to sell some products? Priya, I mean, I think, is it like you are trying to push it out through WhatsApp or Slack or something like that? Can you elaborate a little bit more on this use case?
Yeah, like we have a site and we want to create this life cycle. If there is any order, it should take that order, place the order to the respective seller, and then update the user about that order till the time that life cycle for that order is not completed. And along with that, if I have to do some promotions for my website for those products only, and then maintaining the cash related part also, how much has been sold, and that those kind of like information also, if we can get it using these agents. So that is
Yeah.
what. So
Okay.
yeah, sorry,
There are a
please.
couple of things, right? There are a couple of things. One is that please remember for doing these things, it may have to access to some of the systems. So there has to be APIs available for them. There could be some systems where You need to provide it with the content. Let's say, think about your catalogs, right? What catalogs, what are the items that you have? What is the kind of inventory availability that you have? Probably it needs access to the customers who are kind of placing the order through this. So the entire life cycle workflow that you spoke about, it is possible to configure it. It just needs to integrate with those respective systems, and it needs to have access to those details as and when they are triggered.
Okay, but this is an open source, so is it safe using open source for this all activities?
See, exactly, that's what I said, right? I mean, I think I have not read what are the latest updates on this, but what I hear is that security is something that they are constantly being putting in. So I would just say that probably you will have to do a little bit of more. So from a capability perspective, as you are asking, the answer is yes. But how much of data you want to trigger, how much of control you want to give to it, that is subjective. I don't probably have a very detailed understanding of how many companies are using it for their e-commerce applications, because a lot of this could also be proprietary data, your customer data, PII information. So I will just say use it with caution.
Okay, so is there any place where we can verify these details? How much secure the data whichever we are interacting is? Is there any place where we can check the details on related to OpenClaw?
My suggestion would be maybe check it on Reddit. That is where a lot of people post about their experiences.
Okay. Documentation is not present. Is that right?
Sorry?
Is document available? Documentation related to security, how they secure the data? It's there.
It will be there in there that you can check there.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Since it has access, can it smart post on LinkedIn? Yes, it can. Amrita, yes, it can. You may have already said this, but could you repeat how OpenClaw is different from Cloud Code and Codex? Cloud Code is closed source, OpenClaw is open source, so anybody can set it up. Cloud Code, you need to have an interface where it kind of uses that. OpenClaw can use any of the channels. It has aspects like heartbeat, where you can look for trigger points and these things every 30 minutes. That also is configurable. But there could be also nuances around agents, which is common between Cloud Code and OpenClaw. Most important thing is it is free. In Cloud Code today, one of the biggest distinct challenges is that because not only for the LLM cost, but also, and of course, Claude Sonnet is one of the most expensive ones. So you find it to be very expensive. OpenClaw, you can also use multi-model. For certain agents, you can use a free one like a Gemini small model. For another one, for another reason, another use case, you can use a more matured or a reasoning model. So you can go across multi-models and it is free of cost. Okay, so let me showcase another use case here. So this was another use case which I took, is that after a career break, you have no online print and something, which we all were discussing about social media, or probably generating your leads, pushing it out and stuff like that. So what you want to know is that you want to give a voice note learning from today's post. You want to set up the format based on your handles. You probably want to generate images. You probably want to generate posters, auto publish it, or you can even give it for review, for example, where you say, do not publish it till I have reviewed it. So basically you have a trigger point when you say, go ahead and post it, only then it posts it. So all these things can be done. So typically what you're doing, you are kind of capturing the content, you are, asking the LLM to go and come up with 5 versions. You are trying to create one version for each of the platform. Instagram is very different from LinkedIn, which could be very different from Substack. You can create visuals. You can say, unless I give approval on WhatsApp, don't do it. You can go ahead and do scheduling, right? And this way and also you can look at how your users are looking at it. What is the kind of profile, the number of views you are getting, of course, assuming that you have API accessed for these kind of things. So you can do a bunch of these things. So if you look at it, each one of them, think about like a sub agent as part of your these things, right? And each one of them has a particular activity. For example, over here, you are giving the input. Here you are calling the LLM to basically generate the content. Here you are calling the LLM again to write it according to specific hooks, write it onto them. Then you are generating the content, images. Then you are asking it to send it to you on WhatsApp. Then you are basically queuing it up. You have API integrations and you are pushing it out into those, scheduling it into this. And then you are also getting analytics. So in each one of them, you are probably calling different APIs, different tools, different applications. So each one of them is like a sub agent, right? So here you will see there, you probably need access. There is a skill which is specifically for Instagram, to create the post, to create the reel, for LinkedIn. So these are your channels. You are calling up publishing tools to generate the images. You are integrating with LinkedIn API, Meta APIs. Yeah. And this is something which is sitting here. See, also, what were the kind of posts which got a lot more views or a lot more this? You are storing that content, which is also helping in kind of going back when you are generating your content through the LLM, right? So it's over a period of time, it gets better and better. Yeah. So so one of the questions I think Priya was asking or Amita was asking, see, one of the biggest benefit that OpenClaw has, as I said, is that, as you would have seen, there are multiple sub-agents over here. And orchestration is one of the biggest benefits that it has, right? So that is what it is doing, the orchestration. So basically you gave the voice AI note where you want to talk about how RAG is grounding LLM, right? So you gave this to it. So it is saying, okay, I got it. It is ready, creating the drafts. Then I'm saying, okay, this looks great. Probably approve all steps or whatever it is, and go ahead and schedule it, right? So this was another example that we did where I can probably bring up the video here, how we did it.
So Malti, a question here regarding this use case.
Yeah.
So this LinkedIn and all are notorious for avoiding or preventing bot scraping, don't allow a lot of agent activity. So
Correct.
the LinkedIn connector that you mentioned here, is that something that we need to build via prompt, or is it some existing skill in OpenClaw?
You can create a skill, for example, your
Yeah, that's the
search.
question. Do you need to create a skill or is there an existing skill?
Within a skill, probably there is an existing skill. I haven't looked at it. But typically within a skill is where you will call these scraping tools or these bots.
Okay,
But
so
yes,
you
you're
need
right. I mean, posting it on LinkedIn is not that straightforward.
Yeah, especially like you said, check my previous posts, check the traction on that. So all that requires a lot of tighter integration into LinkedIn.
Correct. See, the more complex use cases you would do, I mean, it would become. But the benefit here would be that once you kind of have given the data, even if you can probably, get that information over a period of time and you would have given it to it, there could be a lot of, maybe if not everything end to end, there could be a fair amount of delegation of the work that you can do to this agent. And this agent is kind of learning over a period of time. Yeah. Again, this video I have not seen myself, so I'm hoping this was created by my team.
Malti, before you go to the video, how does OpenAI compare to Claude on speed? Because when you give a prompt to Claude AI, it actually shows you all the steps that it does, walks you through the entire programming sequence. How does OpenAI deal with it, and is it much faster than Claude?
It will, see, again, it is kind of subjective Sushma, that what is that it is required. Because see, in the background, it is also going to be calling an LLM, right? So the good part with OpenClaw is that if there are, for example, think about it, when you're calling a Claude, unless the markdown file is stored in your side, it is basically taking time where it is trying to understand, okay, what were the kind of chat Sushma had earlier? How does Sushma's persona is looking like? Based on that, it is kind of triggering further agents. But the benefit with OpenClaw is that there is a lot of information which is sitting on your machine itself. Right? So that scripts that it has to do will be, but the time that it would require to work with an LLM, even if it is a Claude Sonnet, that it is going to take. But there could be some optimizations that can be done because a lot of this data is sitting on your machine itself.
Right. No, so as users get more sophisticated, right? At one point, we did not have a problem if something took an hour or two. But today, once you've used Claude a few times, even that 10 minutes seems enormously long, right? So that's where I was coming from. Thank you.
I'm with you. All right. So let me go back and share my screen again. Okay. I'm hoping you guys can see my screen. So we are here. I'm trying to create a social media LinkedIn post. Again, I'm not saying that a lot of this cannot be done with the GPTs of the world or the Claudes of the world. But the benefit that you have doing it from an interface that you're already familiar with, whether it is a WhatsApp, a Discord, a Slack, and to be able to run, speed is one part of it. It has a lot of memory context. I think that's where it kind of aces it out. So see here, it already has context. What is the background Nitya has? What kind of these things? So it is asking that, remember the content that you have and based on that, create it for me for Substack. And of course, depending upon whether you want to right now do with OpenAI or these things, you can constantly change it. So interestingly, when I said this, it said it cannot get the email, but it went to my website and it actually found my phone number. That was some interesting part that it did. So yeah, that was about it, what I've had for today, I think, Steve.
Okay, I think we can open for questions specifically to the use cases that you were showing.
I already answered it, Juby, on the enterprise use cases for marketing, sales, customer support.
The two use cases, the micro learning and the social
Yeah, that's
media.
what I just did, the demo, micro learning and the social media.
Yeah, if there are any questions related to that.
That is all I had for today.
Any questions? Any other questions? Malti, it was really insightful. And from a practitioner's viewpoint, folks, any questions?
Sushma, I think we need to do it, then only we will have some questions. Like how
exactly.
How Malti guided us. Unless until we will not try it, we will not be able to understand what challenges we are facing and where are we getting stuck.
You are absolutely right. Anything to do with AI and technology, unless you actually do it, conceptually you may understand a lot of things, but unless actually you get hands-on. So what we may be able to do is this, because we are planning to have repetitive sessions, okay? just to enable people to actually practice and come back. So we'll come back with what we can do as an after session for this. Yeah. So will all of you try it? Is there anyone here who did not, who did not comprehend anything that was said here? Please don't be shy, because this is going to be part of all of our lives. And the more we know, it's like learning a language. It's how we all seamlessly use PowerPoint and Excel and Word, right? This is going to become as intuitive as that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we are able to integrate this in our daily life, or whatever we are trying to do on the daily basis, that will definitely be very helpful.
Yeah, you must integrate it. Okay,
Right.
but do not outsource it.
Okay.
My only thing is, don't become so excessively dependent on it. Use it,
Okay.
but manage it.
So I was trying to create some of the LinkedIn post through Chat GPT and Gemini, but the content what I'm getting, I'm not very happy with the content, because it is more kind of, I'm not very good at expressing the things. I may know that what topics are there. I'm a technical person, so I'm not very good at writing the things in a storytelling way or in an appealing way, so that audience listen to it. So when I generate through Chat GPT, I'm not very much convinced always. I find it more technical than giving it in a storytelling way. So that
I
is
let Malti answer, but here's my experience.
sure.
Claude does a wonderful job of this, because you can tell Claude exactly what you just said. Hey, I'm a technical person. Can you please make this readable to the person in a manner which is not just, dumb down the technical stuff, but yet don't compromise on technicalities. What I love about Claude is I can talk to it like this and iterate it, right? So, Malti, over to you.
Yeah, you can see again, you can do the same thing even with OpenClaw, right? I mean, as I was showing earlier, how do you create your skills? How do you create your soul? And even when you're trying to schedule your job. But again, I agree that wherever it has to perform a task, like let's say generating a content, it is going to lean on some kind of an LLM with whom you have kind of configured it with, right? So I think the only way to now learn is, and thankfully now we have natural language processing. So it has to be a combination of what we can get extracted from the Claudes of the world or the GPTs of the world. But there are times, for example, I left my technical role like close to 16 years back. And now today it's like a full circle when I'm coming back and I'm doing this all over again. But there are times when it gets slightly more technical. One way I try to do it, that use a co-pilot to kind of troubleshoot my own problem. If that doesn't work, then yes, I lean on to somebody who is slightly more technical than me to help me solve this problem. But the only way to do, as Sushma said, is to keep doing it.
Yeah, keep trying, and unless until I'm not satisfied, I should keep trying
Of course.
different platforms.
Of course, it's like when we all wrote things, we would write once, then we would revise.
Right.
You revise it again. All that this is doing is making the revisions much faster. Okay. So the key is to never, ever outsource it to someone. Okay. The key is to use it as a utility to make sure your thoughts are represented the way you want them to be represented. So that's the fundamental difference between somebody who just uses it and just takes what God spits out and makes it their own. That's the bad way to use AI. The best way to use AI is use it for it to cover some of your inadequacies. time, speed, iterations, but never, ever pawn your thoughts to it.